What's up everyone, Wesley Malott here, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today was the big day. The Oscar nominations were released this morning, and I'm kind of a big Oscar nerd, so I thought I would do kind of a special episode and talk about the Oscar nominations as well as break down my thoughts about them and give you some initial predictions on what I think is going to win. I just want to say that I have not seen all of these movies, but I fully intend to do so. So these are my first initial reactions without seeing some of those movies. So just keep that in mind as I kind of give you my thoughts. So I've got my handy dandy notes here and let's jump in. Forgive me for looking down throughout this video. I just have all my notes written down. I don't have a teleprompter or anything, so I'm going to be looking down constantly throughout this video to reference my notes, and this will probably be a lot less edited than my normal videos since I'm just spitting my thoughts. So for starters, Joker does lead with the most nominations with 11 nominations, and The Irishman, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood each have 10. Netflix leads all studios with 24 nominations. That is huge for the streaming platform. And then Sony is in second place with 20 nominations. Now jumping into the actual nominations, we're gonna start with the short film subjects. Best Short Documentary, In the Absence, Learning to Skateboard in a War Zone If You're a Girl, Life Overtakes Me, St. Louis Superman, and Walk, Run, Cha-Cha. Best Animated Short, I don't know how to say that, I apologize. Derchera, Daughter, Hair Love, Kit Bull, Memorable, and Sister. And then Best Live Action Short, Brotherhood, Nefta Football Club, The Neighbor's Window, Saria, A Sister. So I have not seen any of these movies in any of these categories yet. The past couple of years, I have made it a point to go out and see these movies once they're nominated, but they are incredibly hard to find before the nominations are released because they're usually only played at Oscar qualifying film festivals throughout the world, and I don't go to that many film festivals unless they're local and showing a really low budget independent shorts, and I want to support the filmmakers there. But I will see all of them before the awards. I think it's very important to go out and support short filmmakers because these awards and these films very much have an impact on the rest of their careers. I highly suggest you all do it too because there's a lot of unique voices and a lot of unique stories to be told that you don't get in mainstream Hollywood with those short films. I rambled a lot about that, so on to the next category, makeup and hairstyling. Bombshell, Joker, Judy, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and 1917. Bombshell is gonna win that. I've seen the pictures of Charlize Theron's transformation, and they did an incredible job with that movie, and the Oscar voting makeup and hairstylists, they love that stuff. So that's gonna be my initial pick to win that category. For best costume design, we have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Little Women, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, and Joker. The Academy tends to love period pieces for costumes, so I'm gonna go with Little Women for that. Best production design, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Irishman, 1917, Jojo Rabbit, and Parasite, which I'm really excited that got nominated for this category. And as far as predictions go, Hollywood loves the shit out of Hollywood, and they rebuilt the golden era of Hollywood for this movie. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is my pick for best production design. Best original song, I really don't have any knowledge of whatsoever, so I can't pick a winner there, but the nominees are I'm Standing With You from Breakthrough, Into the Unknown from Frozen 2, Stand Up from Harriet, I'm Gonna Love Me Again from Rocket Man, and I Can't Let You Throw Yourself Away from Toy Story 4. About trash. Forky. Best documentary feature, I haven't seen any, so I'm not going to make a pick until I actually watch them. American Factory, The Edge of Democracy, Honeyland, For Sama, and The Cave. And now we're jumping into the big categories. We have the first two writing awards, Best Adapted Screenplay, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Little Women, The Two Popes, and Joker. I haven't seen The Two Popes, so I can't speak on that screenplay. I haven't seen Little Women, so I can't speak on that screenplay. And I haven't seen Jojo Rabbit, so I can't speak on that screenplay. Irishman would be my initial prediction to win it. And honestly, I don't know about the inclusion of Joker in there. I don't really think the screenplay is Joker's strength. Yeah, but my initial prediction is The Irishman to win. Best Original Screenplay. The nominees are Marriage Story, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Parasite, Knives Out, and 1917. I am really happy to see both Parasite and Knives Out nominated for the Original Screenplay Award. I think both are incredible screenplays that deserve the recognition, and I am super happy to see them get the recognition. With that being said, I do think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood will win because, let's face it, the Oscars love the shit out of Quentin Tarantino. They like to suck on that D, if you will. I enjoyed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think the script was very good, but I really liked Parasite and Knives Out. I think they are much more clever, brilliant films, and it would have been a shame had neither of them actually been nominated here. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino, I think that's a lock to win that category. Best International Feature Film, which they changed the name of this year from Best Foreign Film, which I actually dig. I think foreign kind of has a negative connotation and Best International just sounds a lot better. South Korea for Parasite, Spain for Pain and Glory, France for Les Miserables, North Macedonia for Honeyland, and Poland for Corpus Christi. I've only seen one of these films, and that's the winner. Parasite is your winner because it got 6 nominations and has a real shot at not just winning Best International Feature, but Best Feature. It's true, it really does have a shot. I'll get to that later. Best Animated Feature, can't really speak to this category either because I've only seen Toy Story 4, but the nominees are Toy Story 4, How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, Missing Link. What just happened? My light died. That sucks. Oh well. I'm moving on. I'm not going to address it. Toy Story 4, How to Drain Your Dragon. That's not a kid's movie. Toy Story 4, How to Train Your Dragon, Missing Link, I Lost My Body, and Claws. I've only seen Toy Story 4. I'm going to go with that to win. But the big surprise here in this category is Frozen 2 was not nominated, which I for sure thought would be a lock. Moving on to Best Score, we have 1917 for Thomas Newman, Joker for Hildur Gudnadottir, I don't know how you say your last name. Little Women, Alexander Desplat, maybe? I don't know. You tell me. Marriage Story, Randy Newman, and Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker for John Williams. I don't really know how these awards tend to unfold. I don't really pay attention to the score categories that much. But I do know Hildur won for Joker for the Golden Globes, so that would be my pick here, even though just because something wins at the Golden Globes doesn't mean it correlates to the Oscars. Moving on to Best Visual Effects, we have Avengers Endgame, The Lion King, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, The Irishman, and 1917. So, this is kind of a loaded category. To my knowledge, like a Marvel movie, even though they've been nominated, has not won Best Visual Effects. I don't think this is the year that will change. I think the two front runners for this award is The Lion King, and I think it's The Irishman. I haven't seen The Lion King, but I know a lot of people talked about the animation or visual effects in that movie. And then there's The Irishman, which... Okay, we can talk about that really quickly. A lot of people have criticized that movie and said it has bad visual effects. I do think that the visual effects are kind of jarring at first. It kind of took me out of the movie for a brief minute, but it got better as the movie went on. It was just something about, I don't necessarily think it was the visual effects fault. It was just seeing someone that looked kind of young and characters referring to him as kid, and he's clearly not a kid, and he moves kind of like an old man. I think that those three things just kind of didn't mesh together, and people kind of put that all on the visual effects. I don't think the visual effects are bad. In fact, I would say it's pretty fucking cool what they did for a 3.5 hour movie, given not everything was de-aged. But for the better part of the movie, they used the de-aging. I don't know, that's a toss-up for me. I don't really know which one could win, but I'm gonna go with either Lion King or The Irishman. And I'm curious to hear what you thought about The Irishman's visual effects. If you have any opinions on it, let me know in the comments below. Moving on to sound editing and sound mixing. Sound mixing, we have 1917, Ford vs. Ferrari, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Ad Astra, and Joker. And then best sound editing, we have 1917, Ford vs. Ferrari, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then Joker. Now, I know that a lot of the general public doesn't really think about the difference between sound mixing and sound editing, but there is a clear distinction between the two. So, I mean, yes, you could just do best sound, but they're not the same thing. Sound mixing is the levels, like the music, the Foley, the dialogue, how all of those things stack together and how each individual element is mixed to create and give you a feeling. Best sound editing is actually what you hear, what is edited, what is placed. That's the Foley. So there is a clear distinction there, and usually, most of the time, 98% of the time, these two categories do go hand in hand. The Academy loves war movies in these categories, so I tend to always go with a war movie if there is one in the sound categories. So I'm going with 1917. I think it's going to win both of those awards. Moving on to best editing, we have The Irishman, Ford vs. Ferrari, Parasite, Joker, and Jojo Rabbit. Really, really happy to see Ford vs. Ferrari and Parasite both nominated in this category. One of my thoughts when I left both of those movies is how well edited both of them were. Parasite has this awesome montage towards the beginning of the movie that it's incredible. It's some of the best filmmaking that I've seen all year. And then Ford vs. Ferrari, the racing scenes are just so well edited. You just feel like you're in the car with Christian Bale. It's awesome. I don't know. My initial thoughts of this are The Irishman would win, but I could also see people knocking it for its length here. So I don't know. It says a lot that it's nominated, and Thelma Schoonmaker is kind of a well-revered editor. So I think she'll win again. Best cinematography, we have 1917, Roger Deakins, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Robert Richardson, The Irishman, Rodrigo Prieto, Joker, Lawrence Sher, and The Lighthouse, Jareen, I don't know how you say his name. This, I think Roger Deakins is a lock to win. He's another well-revered cinematographer. He was infamous for having 13 nominations and no wins, and then he finally won for Blade Runner 2049. So Roger Deakins will win his second Oscar in 3 years. That is another lock that I'm very confident about. And now we're moving on to the Big Six. And so for Best Supporting Actress, we have Laura Dern for Marriage Story, Margot Robbie for Bombshell, Florence Pugh for Little Women, Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit, and Kathy Bates for Richard Jewell. There's a huge glaring omission that everybody has pointed out, that Jennifer Lopez was not nominated in this category for her role in Hustlers. Personally, I have not seen the movie, so I can't speak to whether she is more deserving over any of those spots than any of the other actresses. However, my fiance saw it, and she said that Jennifer Lopez was incredible, and she didn't actually realize how good of an actress she was until she saw that movie. So I think that's a snub, for lack of a better word. I know that people kind of throw that word around to basically justify their opinions. It was a kind of a shock because everyone expected it. Moving on to Best Supporting Actor, we have Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Al Pacino for The Irishman, Joe Pesci for The Irishman, Tom Hanks for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and Anthony Hopkins for The Two Popes. Not many surprises here, went pretty much according to plan. I will say this, I think Brad Pitt is going to win. However, I think Joe Pesci should win for his role in The Irishman because, goddamn, that role is not very showy compared to what he is in Goodfellas and Casino and, you know, the roles that you know him for. It's very, very subtle, but he just has such a commanding presence that he just takes over the movie when he's on screen, and you feel the fear whenever he's talking. He doesn't have to say much, but you know he's serious whenever he talks. Best Actor, we have Joaquin Phoenix for Joker, Adam Driver for Marriage Story, Leonardo DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory, and Jonathan Pryce for The Two Popes. I guess if there are two popes in a movie, you have to nominate both of them. There were some glaring omissions from this that I wasn't shocked to see because they weren't really nominated for other big awards, but in my opinion, I would have nominated them. Robert De Niro in The Irishman, that was probably his best performance in the last 20 years. And I don't know how many more performances like that he's got at this time of his life. So, if for no other reason, I thought the Academy would nominate him kind of for that. He wasn't getting love at any of the other awards ceremonies, so I didn't really expect him to get nominated here. Another big one, no Adam Sandler. The Sandman's missing. I think this is just a general disregard for him as an actor, because it's true, he really is incredible in this movie, and I personally think he is up there with Joaquin Phoenix and Leonardo DiCaprio in I think he gave one of the best performances of the year. And it's really sad seeing him not get the recognition from the awards guilds that I think a lot of people agree that he deserves. But at the same time, he did not get nominated at those other awards, so I kind of saw this coming. I do think Joaquin Phoenix is a lock to win Joker. It's a great performance. I don't think it's his best one. I think Freddie Quell in The Master was hands down his best performance, but I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's going to win his Oscar. It's well-deserved, and it's a long time coming, in my opinion. Best Actress, we have Renee Zellweger for Judy, Charlize Theron, Charlize for Bombshell, Scarlett Johansson, Marriage Story, Saoirse Ronan for Little Women, and Cynthia Erivo for Harriet. Scarlett Johansson is absolutely brilliant in The Marriage Story, but I look down at these names, and I'm happy for Cynthia Erivo. I'm happy for all these women that were nominated here, but I see just a huge snub. I said that word again. Lupita Nyong'o for Us. I remembered walking out of that movie, and she was the best part about that movie. She was absolutely brilliant. She played two roles. She played two completely separate people. She came up with her own unique way of talking for that movie, and she is missing. It's the best performance by an actress this year, and she is not even nominated. Come on. Prediction, she's won everything. Renee Zellweger for Judy. And now down to the last two, and I'm happy that I'm down to the last two because I'm kind of tired of talking. Martin Scorsese for The Irishman, Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Bong Joon-ho for Parasite, Sam Mendes for 1917, and Todd Phillips for Joker. So, let's discuss. We pretty much knew going in that Scorsese Tarantino, Bong Joon-ho, and Mendes were locked. So it was really down to that last spot and who was going to get it. Really, it came down to 3 people. It was Todd Phillips for Joker, which he ended up getting it, Greta Gerwig for Little Women, or Noah Baumbach for Marriage Story. I haven't seen Little Women. I don't know about Todd Phillips and Joker for Best Director. I really don't. I would have picked Noah Baumbach over him. I understand the appeal to the movie. I really do. I liked the movie. I didn't love it. I thought it had its problems, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the time I spent watching it. Anyway, as far as winners go, I think any of those big 4, Scorsese, Tarantino, Bong Joon-ho, or Sam Mendes, is deserving. I should say, I haven't seen 1917, so I don't know if he's deserving, but Hollywood loves the shit out of long takes, and they are incredibly freaking hard to do, so I understand why they like to give these awards to the director, because it is the director's vision, and it's so much freaking work. It's an insane amount of work, so that's why I can see Mendes winning without having seen the movie. And that's who I'm voting. I'm not voting for, but that's who I am predicting will win. I think that Sam Mendes will win for 1917. I would be super freaking happy to see Bong Joon-ho win for Parasite, and I would be really happy to see Quentin Tarantino win for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because I think he's more kind of revered as a screenwriter in the industry, even though he's been nominated for Best Director multiple times now. He's won for Best Screenwriting, but he's never won for directing, and so I don't know if he does have one more movie left, are they ever going to give him a Best Director award? I don't know, but I would be happy for him if he won Best Director. And then Martin Scorsese, I think this is his best movie. It's not my personal favorite, but I think it's his best movie. It kind of is like a culmination of his entire career in one movie, and I think that says a lot. Really an amazing feat of filmmaking. So I'd be happy to see Marty win for The Irishman, but Sam Mendes, that's who I'm going with. And now on to the biggin. Best Picture. The 9 best films of 2019. Now remember, the way that the voting is, there can be anywhere between 5 and 10 Best Picture nominees, but this year, the past couple years actually, we've had 9. The 9 this year are Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Irishman, Parasite, 1917, Marriage Story, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, and Ford vs. Ferrari. Initial thoughts, super excited that Ford vs. Ferrari was nominated. I really like that movie a lot. It's definitely on my top 10 list of 2019. Little Women, I need to see, but I'm not excited to see it. It's just not really my cup of tea. I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to watch it with a clear frame of mind. I don't go into any movies with like biases, but it's just like subject matter that I don't really necessarily relate to. Jojo Rabbit, I still need to see, but I didn't get a chance to see it whenever it was initially in theaters, so I need to go out and see it whenever it's re-released for this Oscars run, or if it's on Blu-ray soon, I'll go maybe rent it or buy it, I don't know. I will see it. I will see it so I can make a better assessment. And then 1917, I hope to cross off my list this weekend. I'm starting to lose my voice here from talking so much. Hope you guys watch this, because I'm putting myself through hell to talk about this. Joker, meh. Like I said before, I like the movie. I personally wouldn't call it the best of 2019. I certainly wouldn't include it in my top 10 list. Joaquin Phoenix is hands down the best part of that movie. The script has its problems, the directing has its problems, the cinematography is great, the production design was nice, but I don't know, I thought Joker was, like everybody says, it's Taxi Driver meets King of Comedy without any subtext whatsoever. To me, if it had a different ending, if it had more of a message, it would have made the movie better, but it's kind of just like, this guy has a mental illness and he does bad shit. Watch it unfold. Marriage Story, Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver are absolutely brilliant. This is definitely on my top 10 list of 2019. But for me, Best Picture really comes down to 3 movies, and that's Parasite, The Irishman, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a lot. I need to watch it again to know if it really is like Best Picture worthy, if I really loved it or what. Initial thoughts when I saw that movie was the pieces were absolutely brilliant. I loved all the pieces, but the pieces don't mesh. Irishman, going back to it, I think The Irishman is Martin Scorsese's best movie. It's not my personal favorite, but it is a brilliant movie. It's 3.5 hours long. It's really long, but it's never boring. It's not quite Goodfellas pace. It has a lot to say. It's very contemplative. It's incredible. It's really freaking good. Parasite's the best movie I saw last year. It's amazing. If you haven't seen the movie, don't watch a trailer. Don't read a synopsis. Just go see the movie. That movie is best experienced without knowing a damn thing and just going in blind and just taking the ride. It is a freaking ride. I went through all of the emotions that you could possibly go through during the duration of that movie. It's funny, it's scary, it's sad, it's heartbreaking. It's amazing. It's kind of going back to what Guillermo del Toro did with The Shape of Water and how he kind of mashed up a bunch of genres there. And that's kind of what Bong Joon-ho does with Parasite. The screenwriting, the performances, the direction, the cinematography, the production design, everything is just so good about this movie. And in my opinion, it's the one that deserves to win. However, initial prediction, and this might change the closer we get to the awards, I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood takes it. And I actually don't sleep on 1917. The only reason I didn't really consider it in those 3 to make it 4 was because I haven't seen it, so I can't speak on that. But don't sleep on any of those top 4. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Irishman, Parasite, and 1917. I think any of those 4 are fair game to win it. It would be incredibly freaking awesome if Parasite was the first film ever to win Best International Film ever to win Best Picture. That would be a huge win for that movie. I'm really excited to see how this Oscars race plays out because I think any of those 4 movies could potentially win Best Picture, but I am going with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, at least at this point in time, to win the big one. So yeah, those are my predictions and thoughts about the nominees. I know I said the word snub a lot, but I don't really agree with that word. Here's a cool stat from today. There was a record 62 women nominated this year, so that's huge. But one of the negatives I take away from this is people just kind of keep throwing out the fact that Greta Gerwig was not nominated for Best Director. Like I said before, I wouldn't have necessarily nominated Todd Phillips for Best Director, but a lot of people think he deserves that spot. And you also have to consider that 62 other women were nominated in other categories where people thought they were deserving. And the noise and the chatter over the Best Directing nomination should not take away from the fact that there were more women nominated this year than any other year in Academy Award history. That's huge. And then going back to the snub thing, look, I get it. I empathize with people that their personal favorites did not get nominated. You just kind of have to sift through all of the negative, clickbait, sensationalistic bullshit that you see out of there, and you gotta just cycle out that noise and just focus on the positives, like 62 women nominated. Cynthia Erivo got a nomination for Best Actress for her role in Harriet, and Parasite scored 6 nominations. A film from South Korea has never been nominated for Best Picture or Best Director before. Try to focus on the positives instead of the negatives that are generating the headlines just for the sole purpose of clicks and views. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. I'm Wesley Malott. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, subscribe to the channel. I do a lot of filmmaking content on this channel, but I thought this would be something cool to do since I'm kind of an Oscar nerd. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week with some filmmaking stuff. And just real quick, I will be doing a final prediction video the closer we get to the actual awards ceremony. So if you enjoyed this video, check that out too. Let me know in the comments what you think should be nominated, what you think should not have been nominated. I just want to hear your thoughts and engage in a discussion because I like talking about movies, and hopefully we can be friends because I have no friends. I don't know why I'm still talking. See you guys.